that okay, Pat? Or do you want the motion?
I'm good,
Oh,
Mr. Mayor.
we're live on Facebook now, it says.
If you just
So,
give me a second to get Sherry back on.
sure.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
So Bruderheim Council is back live, and we're looking for a motion to go into the open session. Councillor Pat?
I move that council go into the open session.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion to go into the open session? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed going into the open session? And the motion's carried, and we're now in the open session again. And continuing on, we are at number 7, adopting the minutes of the May 5th. So we're looking for a motion from council to adopt the minutes of May 5th council meeting. Councillor Pat?
I move that council adopt the minutes of May 5, 2021 regular meeting of council.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on the minutes from May 5th? Okay, hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to adopt the minutes? And the motion's carried. So we move on to council priorities, 8.1 information requests. So Councillor Lynn, do you have any?
I have nothing at this time.
Councillor Wayne?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Councillor or Deputy Mayor Daniel?
Nothing for me today. Thank you.
Councillor Pat?
Nothing today, thanks.
Councillor Judy?
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Councillor George?
I have just one concern. Today I was driving around town in the afternoon. I happened to notice that we have 2 young fellows patching our roads manually. We do have a patching machine, and I was wondering why it's not being used, or if it's something wrong, or why it's not being used.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I'll let Mr. Thomas address.
Mayor, through the Councillor Campbell, are you talking about, I'm sorry, I caught just part of that, my apologies. Were you talking about on Main Street there, some of the road patching?
Well, down our street there by my place, they were patching, but they're using a gator and bagged asphalt, and we do have an expensive machine that's paid especially for that. And why is it not being implemented?
So the reason the machine's not being implemented, those are some bigger potholes that are deeper. And so we use some of the cold mix for that. The spray patcher is more for uneven and wider cracks, not big potholes. So something like that, it lasts longer. You can imagine to immobilize the spray patcher for a couple of potholes, it's not cost efficient. And furthermore, again, it's potholes. So we do use asphalt cold mix rather than the spray patch.
Is there any intention to use that machine this year?
As a matter of fact, there is. I just put the order in on the spray chips yesterday afternoon, and weather permitting, we hope to get out and do some roads here in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor George. Is there any other information requests from council? I do have a couple of items. I noticed that the north side of 52nd Avenue, from the trailer park that's on the north side of 52nd Avenue, going forward to the road to the town shop, there's some culverts there and they're plugged with sand and debris, and gravel, that I don't see how any water can actually flow through those culverts. And I just wanted to draw Administration of Public Works attention to those culverts. If there ever was a flow of water there, I think it would just overflow because those culverts looked pretty plugged. So I wanted to draw your attention to that. And then had several inquiries about speeding on Highway 45 going into and out of town on the south end of town. And I wanted to bring that to administration's attention. I'm sure that that's being highlighted on the speed board that's on Highway 45. It'll be interesting to see what the RCMP gets from the information from that speed board. And I also wanted to inquire if it's possible to relocate the 100-km/h sign on the highway going south out of town. The very last resident that lives in a house on the west side of town on Highway 45. That 100-kilometer-an-hour sign is right there. So what we are seeing is people, as they're departing town, as soon as they see the 100-kilometer-an-hour sign, they're speeding up and exceeding the 50 kilometers an hour. By the time they're at the 100-kilometer-an-hour sign, they're doing 100 kilometers. And I think for the safety of our residents, would it be not prudent to move that 100-kilometer-an-hour sign, maybe say south of the CP rail, instead of right beside the last resident leaving town? And so that was a concern that I'm bringing forward in behalf of the residents. I also wanted to throw out a great thanks for the oiling on the Teals Road. It was very noticeable. I was shopping down Teals Road at Teals Greenhouse recently, and that road is really nice shape with the oiling that was done on it. Having said that, also have heard numerous complaints from residents on 46th Avenue, which runs east from Highway 45, about dust, and they're wondering if we could get oiling done on that road for those residents. Was a concern that I've heard. We also noticed that the fence on the berm along Highway 45 going east past the school, that fence, I don't know who owns that fence. Is the town own it, or was it built by the contractors when they built Brookside in the day? But that fence is like rust brown in color, the whole fence. And at some point it'll have to be replaced. And I'm just wondering, is that the town's responsibility, or whose responsibility is it? Or eventually will it just be taken down because it's a fairly large chunk of fence to replace? And I just wanted to see what the game plan was with that fencing. And that was the concerns that I wanted to bring forward today.
Okay,
was
Mr.
there-
Mayor.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, we can address those with response. That was quite a few questions, so.
I understand totally. I've been saving them up for a little while. Had some residents complaining about, and so they were asking if I would bring it to council, and so therefore I did. And I have one for the communication portion. Tanine Rudick, who is on the council for Vegreville, I believe, is going to let her name stand for first VP position with the FCM at the AGM, and she's looking for support. And so I'm going to bring that to the communication portion, correspondence and information items. And that's all that I have. Is there anybody else have any information requests? Okay, moving on to program requests. Councillor George, did you have any program requests? Sorry, George, I didn't quite catch that.
Nothing for me today.
Okay, Councillor Len,
Nothing at this time.
Councillor Judy,
No, I have nothing, thanks.
Deputy Mayor Daniel,
Nothing for me today, thank you.
Councillor Pat,
Nothing today, thanks.
and Councillor Wayne.
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Okay, so that's the council priorities. And number 9, request for decisions, 9.1, doubtful accounts.
Mr. Mayor, did you pass the minutes or did I miss that? Sorry.
I thought we
Yes,
voted on the minutes.
Oh,
Councillor
okay,
Pat
sorry.
made the motion.
I
Yeah.
did. I said, yep.
And yep, Pat stepped forward for sure.
Awesome. I
So-
don't want Mrs. Cote mad at me, so.
We're
Trying to keep
on
up with writing and listening. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doubtful accounts. The purpose of this report is to provide council with information regarding doubtful accounts previously sent to collection. The town council authorized staff to write off $16,183.09 of uncollectible account receivables as listed in Closure 1 dated May 19, 2021. The town has many types of accounts receivable, including but not limited to utility bills, property taxes, fee for service, recovery for damage to town property, fines and penalties, and legal settlements. The accounts shown in sections AC on Enclosure 1 are in arrears for the time period between 2003 and 2007. These accounts have been sent out to our collection agency. The collection agency has been successful in acquiring funds from some accounts, but not all. The town has to forfeit funds to the collection agency for their services at a rate of 50%, as shown in section D. The account shown in section D of Enclosure 1 is a tax account for a trailer that was sent for collection after the trailer was abandoned but not collected as the owner was deceased. This trailer does not have a significant value, is no longer being assessed by the town. The accounts shown in section E of enclosure 1 are for uncollectible general accounts receivable from 2005 and 2006. Strategic plan area, building responsible and transparent government. Other impacts, legislative and legal. MGA RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 276. Summary, the town wishes to conduct a one-time mass write-off for accounts in arrears for over 6 years, that is, it can't be collected, of old uncollectible receivables. The write-offs are purely an accounting function and will have no effect on the balance sheet bottom line. The bad debt is already accounted for in the allowance for doubtful accounts and will merely be offsetting entry to reduce both accounts receivable and the allowance for doubtful accounts. Moving forward, account write-offs will be conducted on an annual basis in accordance with an uncollectible accounts receivable write-off policy and procedures that we are currently working on. These procedures would define the process for addressing these instances, ensuring that any accounts written off are truly uncollectible. Communication plan, the decision of council will be shared with the finance department, town of Bruderheim. And we've attached the list of doubtful accounts, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. So we're looking for a motion from council to authorize staff for the write-off. Councillor Judy.
I make a motion that town council authorize staff to write off the 16,183.09 of uncollectible accounts receivable as listed in enclosure 1, dates May 19, 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor George, then Councillor Pat.
Are these debts not collectible underneath the statutory time of limitation?
Mr. Mayor, that's correct. So we do our very best to collect the accounts for 6 or 7 years, and then they're not collectible.
So whether we pass this motion or not, we can't collect them, right?
Well, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, we continually, we still have these accounts that we look at. And if somebody was to re-register or to do another service with the town, we would still try our very best to collect these outstanding accounts. We don't just throw it in the garbage. It's just legally we couldn't go to court and pursue.
Thanks for the definition.
Thank you. Councillor Pat.
Patty, are these up to what year? Like, is there, I see it goes 2006, and then from 6 to 20, are there a bunch of uncollectible accounts, or are we caught up? Are we going to be caught up? Will we ever catch up?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, we absolutely, that's why I'm working on that policy and procedure. I would like to see in the future that we do it on an annual basis, that we bring to council that, okay, this has hit the 7th year. I'm sure you remember in the audit, our accountant, he suggested over the last 2 or 3 years that we need to clean this up. So that's what we're working on right now for accounts that are very old, as you can see, like 15 years old. So yeah, it definitely triggered me to that we need something that makes sure administration looks at these annually and brings to council. I think this is a good time of year to do it after budget and just cleaning things up before we enter into the next budget cycle. So
what would be a acceptable amount of years to be hanging on and trying to collect? Is that going to be in the policy?
the policy will more define, well, there'll be a policy and a procedure. So administrative procedure will be like how admin will pursue, but the policy will say when it becomes a doubtful account. Like we have doubtful accounts on our balance sheet that we've tried and we've got collection. For instance, the collection agency won't even look for an account less than 500 because it's not worth their time, 50%, right? So that will be written in the policy that administration will try their best for accounts less than 500. And what will that time policy? And we'll bring that to council to discuss. And if it's over a certain amount, it goes to collections. And, you know, if that is a dead end, then how much administrative time should be spent, right? Trying to collect these. So yeah, so we'll bring that policy to council to consider. But generally, again, once we hit that 6-7 year mark, our system, accounting system does allow us to flag people that owe us money. So if they try to re-register, even for a campsite, it's kind of like your driver's license. It would flag that they owe us money. So
okay, and that would be kind of in line with policies that other municipalities.
Actually, when I was looking around, not a lot of small municipalities have a policy and procedure. So yeah, but I think it's a good thing to do. If nothing else, it establishes a procedure for administration to make sure that we don't go 15 years without bringing doubtful accounts and then raising flags on our financial audit, right?
Exactly, yeah. All right, okay, thanks, Patty.
Thank you for that. Any other questions on this motion? I have a couple questions. First of all, writing this off, what is the implications to the budget?
So, Mr. Mayor, as I said in the report, this has no implication on budget because it's already in the doubtful accounts.
Mhm.
Okay. And are they utility accounts, or if they're tax accounts, then it would go against their taxes, or?
So, Mr. Mayor, the majority is utilities that prior to us changing policies were not transferable to tax accounts. Some are for services, not paying your ice rental time, not paying rent at the Infinity Center, various things, renting the fire hall, your check bounces, those sorts of things.
Okay. And so you mentioned the collection agency was helping try to collect, and we arrived at 16,000 that was uncollectible. How much was the figure that the collection company had to work on before this figure? You know what I mean? Like, was it 30,000 and they managed to get it down to 16,000 that's uncollectible, or do we know that number?
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm only bringing to you the amount that is past the legal time of going to court to collect. We still will always have accounts receivable, Mr. Mayor. I don't have that number, but I could provide that to council. I believe it's another 15,000, 20,000 we still have in accounts receivable.
Okay. Yeah. So, and when that's the only tool that we have really is a collection agency to try to drive that.
Yeah, so it's money that can't be transferred to taxes, right? Because
Yeah,
if it
okay.
goes to taxes, then the property goes to auction. That's why the trailer is defined separately, because the value of the trailer is now at zero. And
Okay.
so there's no opportunity to collect our money from that.
Okay, thank you. Looks like Councillor George has a question.
Yes, in section E of your printout here, invoice number 200 60115 is for $3,822. That's a fair sum of money to write off.
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, we would have done everything we could through collections to get that money back, and administration wasn't able to get it back, so.
No, but that's also gone past the process of limitation, right?
Yes, and if you can imagine, if you owe me $500 and you don't pay me for 20 years, the penalties accruing at 36% per year can get pretty high, right?
So this is tax money then?
No, this is if you owe me money and I'm going to give you a penalty every year, that amount of money is going to grow. So it could have been that they only owed us $300 or $400 20 years ago, but with 20 years of 36% interest, that grows pretty quick, right? So. We still apply penalties on the principal, right? Even though we're carrying it as accounts receivable, it's like if you don't pay your utility, your gas bill on time, ACO Gas or Fortis will attach a penalty if you don't pay. So we do the same thing. If you don't pay us, NSF charges, all sorts of things, we tack that all on and it becomes accounts receivable, and then it moves to doubtful accounts after 6 years.
So this one stands out quite clearly as a. Thank you.
So if it was a large sum of money, then that would be something that we could challenge in court then, or?
As long as we met the under 7-year time frame.
Okay, yep.
And if there was any assets to seize.
Yeah, okay.
Has there been any communication with any of these debt holders?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, through Council Campbell, absolutely, multiple times.
So there has been recognition that these people do owe a debt, some of them.
It's been my experience most of the time, Mr. Mayor, through Council Campbell, that we often get no forwarding address of those people. And yeah, so we do registered letters. We have a whole process in place right now and then the collections will take it and try and do their very best to look for those people if they're registered anywhere else and try their very best. But if people don't have any assets and they only owe us $300, you're not going to go to court. That doesn't make any sense. Right? So.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council on this motion? Hearing none, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you very much to administration. And I must say, CAO Pat, I really like the background on your his page there. 9.2, Bruderheim Community Library Board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board Statement of Receipts and Disbursement is presented to council in accordance with Municipal Government Act and the Libraries Act. The Town Council approved the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board Statement of Receipts and Disbursements for the year ended December 31st, 2020. The Town of Bruderheim contracts Metric Group LLP, Chartered Professional Accountants as a firm to complete their annual audit. At the time of reviewing the financial information for the Town of Bruderheim, they also complete the audit for the Bruderheim Community Library Board, year-end financial statements as set out in the Libraries Act. Strategic goals and plan areas. We embrace community sustainability, focusing on providing services to our residents of Bruderheim and surrounding area. The Bruderheim Community Library Board provides one of these services. Healthy community, continuance of current library services in the community. Open governance, the community is educated on responsibilities and limitations of council and administration. The Town of Bruderheim Community Library annual audit is completed by Metrics Group LLP, Chartered Professional Accountants as approved by our council as the Town of Bruderheim Financial Review of Financial Information as per Section 9 of 12.7 of the Libraries Act, which is specific to the financial reporting for the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board annual audit requirements. Upon council approval, administration will provide the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board with a letter stating that the council resolution which approved the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board Statement of Receipts and Disbursements for the year ended December 31st, 2020 for inclusion in their year-end document submission as set out in the Libraries Act. And we've enclosed their Statement of Receipts and Disbursements, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So looking for a motion from council. Councillor Wayne.
Town Council approved the Town of Bruderheim Community Library Board Statements of Receipts and Disbursements for the year ending December 31st, 2020.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? I just want to thank the library board for the volunteer work that they do, and providing a library for our community is a vital part of our community, and glad that we have a library. Not hearing any other comments, questions, or concerns with the motion. A call for vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, the motion's carried, and we move on to number 10, 10.1 council committee reports. So we're looking for a motion to receive the council committee reports as information. Councillor Pat.
I move the council receive the council committee reports as information.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on the council committee reports? Hearing none, and call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to receive the council committee reports as information? And the motion's carried. 10.2 mayor report, looking for a motion to receive the mayor report as information. Councillor George.
Make a motion that we receive the mayor's council report as information as presented.
Thank you, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on the mayor's report? Hearing none, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. 10.3 CAO report. Looking for a motion to approve the CAO. Deputy Mayor Daniel.
I move that council receive the Chief Administrative Officer report as information.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Anyone have any questions on the CAO report? Councillor George.
I see we're in negotiations with the Department of Highways and setting up a temporary pump system. What does that curtail?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, I will let Mr. Thomashet address that request that we've submitted to Alberta Transportation.
And Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell. So in our discussions with Alberta Transportation, I had requested that as a compromise to some of the issues along Highway 45, basically what we're talking about is the drainage issue down on the service road between 46th and 47th. Until we can figure out a solution for all their stormwater that runs down 45, perhaps they would look at entertaining the idea of dropping a power line down one of the power poles. So basically putting in a meter and a plug-in, and the town of Bruderheim would look at maintaining a pump and hose in that location rather than Public Works having to position an operator and the equipment down there sometimes on a daily basis, more so on a semi-daily basis, but it would be automated and it would reduce the amount of time. In my discussions with Alberta Transportation just the other day, they are willing to entertain that idea. So I'm just outsourcing some prices for them to cover through Fortis, and we will move forward with that initiative.
And if we put in a pumping system, where are we directing that water?
The water will be directed in the same location as we are now. It's going straight east down the gutter, and it'll eventually make its way into that creek. One thing we will have to do is put some road crossing boards across the pipe, or in this case, across the hose to protect the hose, so that when vehicles go across it, we don't damage the hose. Again, keeping in mind that service road has very minimal traffic on it, so I'm not looking for a lot of traffic going over the boards all day.
Pumping water, not method. Is it going to be putting water across private land?
No, it would be going down our gutter on our street.
And directly into the creek?
That is correct, yes. Does that answer your question, Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor George. Any other questions on the CAO report from council? I have one thing that I wanted to note, one question. Great to see Canada Day planning happening. That's awesome. And so there'll be some type of parade like we did last year, and then fireworks.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Awesome, that's great. And so I guess, will some of this be tied to what's going to happen with COVID, do you think? Or how do we let residents know, like, when can we actually start advertising that we're going to have something happening on Canada Day? Or
So, Mr. Mayor, we will start pushing it out next week. It's ready to go to public, and actually Mrs. Cote has already sent it out to our previous parade attendees. And as you know, we're just a month off, so we held off as long as we could, and we're going to do the neighborhood parade again, whether or not COVID restrictions are lifted or not. We just have to hit go, and we've booked the fireworks to happen at the Ag Grounds, and we have some other options there too that we're looking at. And then if COVID restrictions are lifted, and for instance, we could have like gatherings up to 50 or something. We'll be looking at some entertainment over there perhaps. But at bare minimum, we'll be doing a neighborhood parade and fireworks for sure.
that's great to hear. Thank you very much. Excited to hear that. On the second to last page, the economic development portion, it's mentioned about attended tourism meetings with Alberta 360, and it mentions Jackie Fensky and plans for developing a tourism opportunity involving the town of Bruderheim. I just wanted to highlight that the Suite 6 hotel folks had contacted me. They're very eager to become a bigger part of the community. For example, on Saturday or Sunday, I took Mo over to Teal's greenhouse, and he had never been to Teal's greenhouse. He was very open to going over there. The previous administration of the Suite 6 hotel didn't seem to embrace the community as much as these folks. And I just wanted to make sure that all of our businesses in town are going to get afforded an opportunity if there's some kind of tourism event happening through this venue. Or
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Mayor. The Go East catalog is just coming out now, and so again, we have that Monopoly game that was very successful in Bruderheim last year. So Sherry's doing a really good job of engaging businesses and keeping them informed of opportunities that are going to be coming our way.
great, that's awesome. Thank you very much. Any other questions for CAO Pat on her report? Haven't heard none, then I'll call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion to accept the CAO report? And the motion's carried. So now we move on to correspondence and information items. So we have a list of information that's on the sheet. Elk Island Public School Board highlights, Fort Air Partnership Year in Review, conversation with Rachel Notley Zoom meeting, tourism and your business webinar. And I wanted to highlight that's not on the sheet, received correspondence from Tanine Rudick from town of Vegreville. She's looking for support in her bid to become the first VP or one of the first VPs for the FCM at the upcoming AGM. So I just wanted to communicate that to our council so that they know she's interested in garnering support for that position. And she's local to our region. So I'd be looking for a motion to accept the correspondence report as presented. Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that we accept the correspondence information with the addition there as presented for the period of April 30, 2021 to May 14, 2021.
Thank you very much for that motion, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Judy.
So if she's looking to get put on that board, how are we supposed to support her?
If you're going to the AGM, you can vote for her.
Okay, I thought maybe she wanted to let her support, but yeah, it's a voting situation. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So everyone that can attend the AGM is free to vote for whomever they want. I didn't want to leave it up to our council to determine that, because to tell you the truth, I don't even know who else is running right now. So.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. And also wanted to mention, I guess this would be a correspondence item as well. Sorry about that. We had gotten a letter dated April 19th from Dr. W.A. Sands from Okotoks. He was looking, he collects pins, and he is wanted a pin from Bruderheim. So administration has sent him a pin along with a letter thanking him for reaching out to us. And so I have this letter from him along with a pin from the town of Okotoks. So it was nice to have his correspondence, and I'm sure he's approached every municipality in Alberta that he didn't have a pin from. Thank you. So any other comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Councillor Wayne.
No, not with that. I just had another just after that.
After this?
Done. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Anyone opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. Okay. Councillor Wayne.
I forgot to bring something up in inquiries, if I may.
I'm open to that. The rest of council is okay with the inquiry from Councillor Wayne?
No,
Sure.
no.
No.
No, you didn't hear it.
I make a motion, we,
You lose.
Is it possible to, I'll send you the name, Patty. There's a lady and her husband walk the skate park on a regular basis in the mornings early, and they do a lot of cleanup for us. So maybe we can send them out a little thank you card. That would be great. The other thing is it possible to get a hold of TELUS and Shaw and ask them to come out and revisit all their boxes throughout town? Because there are many that are unlocked, that are open, that are hanging. I've been having issues with TELUS. This last couple of weeks, there's a box in front of my house that's all rusted out and it's fallen over and all the wires are hanging out, and they're not concerned about it because the wires aren't alive. I guess they're dead wires, but it's fallen over, it's rusty, and it's full of water and wires are hanging out. So is it possible to get a hold of them to come out and just do a revisit of all their utilities in town?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Leckel, I'll contact our service rep for this area and see maybe if we go through that way, we can get some cleanup happening.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all.
And we'd be looking for a motion from the same Councillor Wayne.
Make a motion to go home or to your coach, whichever is closer.
Yeah. All in favor of that motion?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Who
And the
watched
motion's
the Oilers
carried.
game, eh?
Thanks, guys. It's a great meeting.